And I want to celebrate Mark Slev because one of the things we try and do as preachers is set up a moment where people respond in salvation. It's not that we're trying to bring someone a wow factor that we've figured out in our own private time. In fact, we often don't think our words are that good. So I know the vulnerability of preaching. And it's pretty special jumping up the back end of a message with a setup like, God has given us access to heaven, but have we given heaven access to us? That kind of language. It's amazing for me to be able to close a service when a preacher's done the hard yards of softening hearts, preaching the gospel. I thought you were excellent on Sunday. And so I just want to celebrate. I don't want to take for granted. I forget who it was now. Someone came to me last week and they said, we just take for granted how good and how blessed we are with the teaching in this house. And it's awkward when I'm hearing it, but it's great when I'm giving it. And I do think sometimes we take for granted just the incredible teaching that's coming out of this house, the food, if you like, that's on the floor in our church for people to eat. Take what you want, we always say to people, like the gospel is free, take what you need. And I just thought that Sunday was an exceptional moment for people to take what they needed because you put so much on the floor for us. And so I'm grateful for it. I hope you're all eating too. I hope you're not coming to church on Sunday because it's what you have to do. I hope you're eating. It's important. Okay, if you guys have been around any amount of time, our church at the moment, you might have heard a word, VUCA. Has anyone heard the word VUCA other than our staff team? VUCA stands for, let me help you. It's actually it originated in the US military. VUCA is an acronym. We love acronyms here at Linc Church. It stands for volatile, uncertain. Who can help me with the next two? Great. Complex and brilliant. Ambiguous. This is what the US military coined a few years back as a helpful acronym for what war can seem like. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. In fact, the September 11 attacks, when those things came on, this had always been a word that had circulated. They never really made it like a real thing. And when September 11th happened, they actually said, guys, it's real. Like, no longer does war have rules, basically. Because there were always rules of engagement. There was always some kind of understanding as to how war worked. When do we attack? And even though there was like ambushes, so to speak, there was a sense of boundary in the world of war. VUCA came in as a new understanding saying those boundaries are gone now. No one actually cares what the rules of engagement are anymore. It's now open floodgates, anything goes, all right? And so they started coining this language. Well, in recent times, some of the business analysts and psychologists, industrial psychologists, have started looking at the world and going, we think the world is actually VUCA. It's not just the war, it's the world. The world's rules of engagement have changed. I mean, you and I could agree on this because 5 years ago it looked very different to what it is today. In fact, we're told that the varsity degree is more about the discipline of learning than the degree that you take home. Because the degree is almost obsolete unless you're becoming a lawyer or doctor or someone that actually has to apply some of that stuff. But if you're doing a general degree, and I'm not making light of your degree now. I did a B accounting degree, which honestly is worth nothing unless you become a CA. It's the discipline of the degree, not the degree itself. Does that make sense? I still encourage people to study because discipline is powerful. But the whole thing about the world is it's changing. So what we're learning today, by tomorrow, people know, like, it's amazing, the newspaper or news channels, what I love about them and hate about them is that they're all yesterday's news. Have you ever noticed that? You never pick up the newspaper with the news of tomorrow. It's obsolete the moment it arrives on your doorstep. And so the world is VUCA. Listen, guys, get this word into your thinking because if you can realize that the world is VUCA, you will also realize that the opposite can be true too. So let me tell you what the opposite is. If the world is VUCA, if the business rules are changing, the most wealthy property company in the world doesn't own a single property. Real estate company in the world. Who am I talking about? Airbnb. All right, so the world has changed. You no longer have to own properties on every corner now. You can just own the rights to them. Access, not ownership. All right? The taxi industry, remember that? Remember when there was a taxi industry? Like, go figure, gone. It's now the most wealthy transport company in the world, doesn't own a single car. Who am I talking about? Uber. The game has changed. It's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And we're still playing it the old way and expecting different results. So they're saying people of the future, leaders of the future, counteract these 4 things, because this is true of the world. You don't know what your kids are going to see today online. You don't know where the world is going to be tomorrow. Let's be honest. We don't know where South Africa lands up in 2021, if we're blatant. We don't really know. All right? So it's VUCA. The opposite is true. Vision. Understanding. Clarity. And the word that I want to speak about today, anyone know what this is? Agility. So if the world is VUCA, and it is, it's not really a discussion, then the way people are leading in this current economic climate, relational climate, even church climate, is they're making sure that what is volatile is counteracted by strong vision. People need vision. If we don't know what's coming, someone needs to give us something to run at. All right? So vision. Uncertainty is being counteracted by understanding. All right? Understanding is actually quite powerful. I read this. It's the power of abstract thought or to comprehend. So we need understanding in the world. We need to know what's happening in the world today is not by accident. The Bible talks about all this stuff. All the war, all the interaction, all the racial tension. It's not something new that God wasn't aware of. The Bible writes this in. It's all in there. Conflicts in there. Political campaigns are in there. It's all in the Bible. So we need understanding. We need God's understanding on the world of today, the uncertainties. Complexity is clarity. In a world that's incredibly complex, we need people that are making strong, clear calls for us. But the word that's really just been circulating in my mind recently, and something I believe for your business, hopefully, or for our church, is this word agility. In a world that is ambiguous, in other words, we could go left, we could go right, and neither way is wrong. We need the agility to be able to shift left or shift right when it calls for it. And typically, the more complex an organization is, the slower it is in its agility. All right? The more uncertain a company is, the less understanding a company has, the less agility a company has. Your family's like this. Let me help you for just a minute. If you have set ideas on what marriage should look like, how many of you know you lack? Can I just talk honest for a little bit? Because this is a big word and it's going to change your world. If you have set ideas on what marriage should look like, all right? I'm not saying that they're right or wrong. I'm just saying they might be lacking a bit of agility. So don't hear right or wrong here. Just hear you're a bit stuck. If your business, this is the way, if you use these words, but this is the way we've always, what's the next word? You lack agility. Now, I'm not saying that the way you did it's wrong. It may even have worked. It probably did. I'm just telling you, in a world that is highly ambiguous, you need a fresh lens on agility. So I want to speak about agility for just a few moments because it's a word that we like the idea of. We all understand it in sport. We want someone that can play center and play wing. If we're down 2 injuries, we don't want somebody that is just a fullback. We want someone that can move in and out the back line wherever they are. So we understand the analogy in sport, but in life, we don't like to think of it like that. So when life demands that you play a role, let's say you're on the host team and suddenly Kids Church needs a volunteer, and you're like, no, man, I'm hosting. You know, that's lacking. Okay. When you're in business and you're the finance person and someone needs to get some goods transported to another company because the logistics division has just gone down for a day, how many of you know that needs a little bit of agility? But this is my lane, this is my story, this is my thing. That's how we talk. We've been like focused on being specialists and whatever. The world has changed and is changing toward, yes, you still know what you do. And for the most part, 80% of your life is spent doing what you're good at. But the 20% requires agility. And agility is what's changing the world. Do you know Jeff Bezos, the guy who started and leads Amazon today? I think he's the second wealthiest man in the world at the moment. Jeff Bezos was asked a simple question. How do you run your company? He said, I don't. I throw problems at my team and they run the company. That's how he answered the question, to which I think, Jeff, that's a little bit of an understatement of your leadership. But when you dig into the way Jeff Bezos leads, that's how he leads. What's the problem to be solved? What are we going to do about it? Solve the problem. All right, we did that yesterday. Tomorrow's changed. They've banned drones from air. They started doing deliveries with Amazon with drones in the air. And now they've banned drones in certain regions. What are we going to do differently? Get guys on electric scooters. This needs to move quickly. We're at a high traffic zone, and it's taking too long for FedEx vehicles to get to the houses. Put them on scooters. Put the backpacks on their back and get the product. He's just agile. But we paid a lot of money for the FedEx vans. Sell the van. Buy the scooter. Become agile. Do you see what I'm saying? So we need a world that is agile. Now, in the church, it's true too. We just need to be very agile. We need to move quickly, think differently. I think the Spirit is a good example. For me, the Holy Spirit speaks sometimes in ways that I don't expect Him to. And I need to be agile enough to move with Him, not stuck with me. And I really do feel like there is a fresh wind, that line that we sing, can you feel the winds are changing? I don't think that's just a cool line, although today it felt like it was just like erupting in this place, because we do believe there's a wind that's changing. Are we agile to move with it? Tap your neighbor and say, we need to be agile. So 5 things that agile leaders have. This is kind of global standards, if you like, for agility in business and thinking in life. 5 things I'm going to share with you, and hopefully they'll encourage you today. The first is integrity. Agile leaders have a high value for integrity. They are self-aware and highly accountable. That's what integrity is. They are self-aware, they know who they are, and they are highly accountable. They're true to that. To be accountable, by the way, we've made accountability work for us, but accountability was never for the boss. It was always for the employee. Accountability has become a boss thing. I'm going to hold you accountable, right? It's not wrong. I'm just saying that it was never actually meant to be the boss's win. Accountability is meant to be the individual's win. And when Rory Dyer, my pastor, once told me about this, he said, Dill, I want to hold you accountable, but let me clarify. He said, I want to hold you account on your ability, hold you to account on your ability. Accountability is me holding Mark Slev to account on his ability. So accountability or integrity, me holding him to account on his ability, is not me holding him to account on what I expect from him. That's different. So when I empower integrity, I empower him on account of his ability. So one of the things about agile leaders is that they are highly integrous. One of the reasons we're losing integrity is because employees and people don't know what's expected of them. Well, let me tell you what's expected of you: to be you. To be integrous is to be you. Now, of course, integrity is if you say something, you do something. If you promise this, you keep your promise. But let's be honest, we've broken that 1,000 times. So the best advice I can give for integrity is to learn who you are. Who are you? What are you good at? What aren't you good at? Part of being integrous is knowing what you aren't good at. It's being in a room and realizing you're not the wisest voice. It's being in an environment realizing somebody else has greater value. That's integrity. Integrity is not, I said I would do this. Toss that. Agility comes into, actually, I'm in the room and I realize who I am and who I'm not. It's being self-aware and accountable based on who you are. True to self is the word I will use. It's one of the things I encourage my girls all the time. Every day, there are another 10 expectations placed on them from teachers, from friends, from sport, from social media. And I just keep saying to them, just put those on the side. Who are you? Because you've got to be your true self. Integrity. Agile people know who they are. Because when you don't know who you are and the time changes, you start to feel like you're being ripped apart. Because today you were trying to be something to someone. Tomorrow it requires something else. And you don't want to be the something else because you're tired of being something that you aren't. So be yourself, because you can always be yourself. Amen? Second thing about agility leaders, and I just want to encourage you around agility, you are agile, you can change, you're great leaders, is that they are highly innovative. So integrity is the first, innovation is the second. To say it like this, agile leaders are curious and experimental. Curious and experimental. It's one of the hardest things about parenting, because every kid's got their own curiosities. And I wish I could just box it into one simple little template for life in my home. Like that, like we all wake up at 5, then we all have breakfast together and we eat the same thing so that it costs me less money, And then they go to school and they all like the same sports, so we can pick them up at the same time and they can buy the same kit and the top kit can get handed to the next kit to get handed to them. Like that's how, honestly, that's how I would like the world to be. That lacks, how many of you know, agility. And you know what it does is it squeezes the uniqueness out of them. And so one of the hardest things about parenting is allowing my kids to be curious about the world. One loves drama. She'll dance until 12 at night. Honestly, she doesn't even have to be at home doing it. The other one likes sports. She can't leave her friends alone. The other one likes building stuff. And the fourth one still likes breaking stuff. So there's this real, like, he's more curious about what breaks and what doesn't break. Anna just wants to build it back up. Mackenzie is dancing, and Taya's desperate to see her friends again. That's their curiosity. They're experimenting in a part of themselves that is true to being themselves. I love that the world has created a platform for people to be curious again. In fact, the curious leaders, do you know the most highly teachable people in the world? The most impressionable and teachable, agile people in the world. Do you know what age they are? Anyone want to have a guess? 2. The most agile human on the world is 2. They're the quickest learners on the planet. And do you know what that comes down to? One word: curiosity. I wonder if as adults we've lost our curiosity. I was always curious about this. I'm just going to be curious about it. I'm going to be experimental. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to build something new. I'm going to buy something different. I'm going to wear a different color. I'm going to be curious about life. All right, they ask great questions. Innovative people celebrate change. The word is innovation, but to be innovative is to be curious. When was the last time you did something for the first time? All right, that's agility. Next word, urgency. Agile people have great urgency. If you look at the Jeff Bezos of the world, if you look at the Steve Jobs in his time of the world, even Bill Gates, it's interesting, Bill Gates handed Microsoft over for about 15 years at one time, and it failed to become the innovative company that it is today. He took it back, he empowered the right people, and the person that he empowered, he used one word. I want somebody who is, what's the word? Agile. And they took the guy that had actually taken Microsoft through its, what they called the glory years, but really they were just capitalizing on Bill Gates' pioneering years. They took that guy out the equation because he had destroyed the culture of innovation, and they put a new guy back in that was agile, and Microsoft is taking off again. Is starting to take off again. So urgency. There's an urgency in agile leaders. They are focused and decisive. How many of you know you need to be focused and decisive in the world today? There are so many options. I always say to restaurateurs, please just give me 3 good options. Not 33, not 333, like too many choices and we choose nothing every time. How many of you know that to be the truth? What car should I buy? You know, it would be nice if there was just one option. Yeah, exactly. What did he say? It doesn't matter what color the car is as long as it's black. Urgency. Strong call is a good call. We actually have this thing at touch rugby on a Monday. There's no refs at our touch game, which is a problem because there's a bunch of competitive guys, and someone has to win. And so anyway, I used to play touch, and so I stopped playing because of this. This was one of the challenges. It was ruining my true self, and I'm just kidding. So we have a simple rule. There's no ref, but we need guidelines. So what's the rule? A strong call is a good call. You got to know how this plays out, you know. You missed the guy. Touch! You didn't touch me. Doesn't matter. The rules are a strong call is a good call. And we literally play by those rules. Try. You didn't even get the ball over the line. Sorry, buddy, you must be new to the Monday game. Strong call is a good call. It's a try. We always favor the strong call. Now, it's funny because it actually works. And it's like even when it goes against you, at least it works to keep the game moving forward. I think life can be a bit like this. There are very few people making strong calls. Everyone's just like, yeah, you're right, actually, yeah, maybe we just wait until someone else fixes it. No, you make a strong call. You build a business that's different. You change your family's future. You put finance in a different space. You come into Christianity with a different perspective. Yeah, we're just going to be floated. That's why I love this group of people. Like everyone else is like, we want this faith story to be a good story. You, the decisive ones, have said, well, then on Tuesday, we're going to go and get geared up for another week. It's just decisive. It's just urgent. So integrity, innovation, urgency. This is agility we're talking about. The next one is engagement, and I love this one. Agile people have a high level of engagement with the world around them. To use say it in a different language, agile people are inclusive and collaborative. The world of me does not generate agile results. It can generate a result. You might even be happy with it, but it's not the kind of results that change the world. The companies that are changing the world are collaborating with other companies. Churches that are changing the world are collaborating with other churches. You've noticed some of the greatest churches in the world have different preachers, different friends coming through their doors all the time. One of the things we've tried to do is create a bit of a dynamic like that. So whenever someone's in town, bring them through Linc. Let them bless the church. Let them bring a different perspective, because collaboration actually matters. Now, just while I'm on collaboration, I want to make a disclaimer here. When I talk about collaboration, I'm not talking about work. I'm talking primarily about wisdom. So when I say collaboration, sometimes the initial thought is, let's work together. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, let me glean some wisdom off you. Let me collaborate, and let me hear what you see for this equation. Let me hear what you see for this decision. You know, we as a church are planning to do X, Y, and Z. I have a team of 5 people: Mark Slev, Dubs, John Cole, and Eric Hardy. They are people I collaborate with. They're the directors or eldership of this church. Now, it's not to say that there aren't other people in the church that I glean off. It's not to say that I haven't learned from many people along the way, but I've chosen, when we make decisions, to make sure that I'm accountable to that group of people, that they're holding me true to myself. All right? And so when we make decisions, we collaborate. They're not going to do the work with me, but they're giving me wisdom for the work I want to do. Rory Dye is another person I collaborate with. Now, I use these as examples because when we looked at Mshlanga, we started looking at Mshlanga, I think it was February last year. All right? My goal was to launch in March last year because I'm impulsive to my core. And we had an option at Cornubia Cinema, and we said, let's just pray about it. We had another option at Destiny Building that came up, and we started doing some work there, and you know the story, it fell through, and we had this pending option at the Arch Building, but it was super expensive, and all this stuff. I was going, guys, I don't even care about the money. Let's just go to Mshlanga. God will check the box. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, let's just get in there, you know, impulsive. Urgent, I'm not sure, impulsive. And so anyway, I put it before our eldership, and I phoned Rory, and you know what they said? Let's just sit on it. That's collaboration. I want to do this. Hey, Slev, I've got this really strong desire in my heart. I'm feeling this for my children. Like, Mackenzie's not this. You're a good friend. What do you think? Collaboration. You want to be agile? You want to navigate the turbulent waters of life? You need the wisdom of good friends. I just need to say this so clearly because our world is not leaning into wisdom. Our world leans into the voices that give us the high fives. And those are awesome. But let me tell you, if it weren't for that group of elders, I would have gone into Mshlanga and I would have spent 300,000 rand a month trying to get a church off the ground, happily. We're now just off signing a lease at 80,000 rand in a space that we don't deserve, and a most incredible opportunity, fit out taken care of. We're not paying for a single piece of equipment. It's the most amazing outcome, and it's because I was agile, but not because I was agile, because I trusted the wisdom of friends in that situation. 2 claps, awesome. I hope this is helping. I just believe our church is agile. So we are integrous, we're true to self, we are innovative, we're experimental and curious, we are urgent, we are focused and decisive, we have high engagement, we are inclusive and collaborative, and the 4th principle of agility is direction, communication and empowerment. Direction. I have a simple process by empowering people. I task them, I trust them, and then I test them. I don't always do this well, but that's my process, all right? I task somebody, here's what I expect of you. Then I trust them, go and do it by yourself. And then I test them, how did it go? And that's my way of hopefully empowering people, giving direction to our organization. Can you imagine me trying to keep tab on every detail of this church every day of the week? It's impossible. So we task people with the right hearts, we trust them with the job at hand, and then we test the waters to see how it's actually going. And this is just an ongoing thing of agile leaders. You need to give directions to your team by tasking, trusting, and testing the waters with them. There's another principle that I've started to adopt is when I have a chat to somebody, let's say I'm having a chat to Tess, and we're talking about the dynamics of our marriage, and we're discussing something that's been tense in our home. We sometimes have that. Most couples never struggle with this, but when we are struggling with it, what I've started to do, and I do this with my team as well, is we'll chat and she'll discuss how she's feeling, and I'll tell her how I'm feeling, and we do the little marriage thing. And when we finished, as a principal, what I do now is I jump on my computer and I send an email to her to say, just a heads up, this is what we chatted about. I'm doing that with our team as well. So when we have a meeting in team, if I've got a meeting with Slev and we talk about the campus and what's required and where it's going, we have a great meeting, we talk through the things on the sheet, and when the meeting's over, I go straight to my computer, I say, hey Mark, just a quick one to clarify, this is what we spoke about. I think in a world of agility, we need strong communication. You know, I think it was John Maxwell that said, I'll close with this, he said, the greatest problem with communication is the assumption that it's taken place. That's true in your home. But I thought we spoke about this. I don't remember speaking about that. But I've told you 1,000 times. I haven't heard it once. We've all had these conversations. So the reality is in team, in life, in church, the greatest challenge with communication is the assumption that it's taking place. I thought we've spoken about this. So look for ways to over-communicate is what I'm saying. When it comes to direction, look for ways to over-communicate. If you think you've said enough, say it again. If you think you've said it too many times, say it another time. Friends, let me say it one more time. Integrity, innovation, urgency, engagement, and direction will breed an agility in you. And all of you can work on something this week. You don't have to work on all of it. Just work on something that brings more agility to your life to help you navigate the turbulent waters of the life around us. Because I know that the agile leaders will change this nation. Amen. Okay, stand. Let's pray.